Very good afternoon to all of you. All the faculty members and all the invitees, including the students of this wonderful conference on Vedic jurisprudence. Now, after a very thought-provoking inaugural session, we have now started the session on the distinguished scholars. Particularly Anupji for providing me this wonderful opportunity to moderate this session. We have three distinguished scholars here to share their views on different aspects of Vedic jurisprudence. We have Honorable Justice Dr. S.N. Pathak ji, Honorable Justice Dr. S.N. Pathak ji is the current judge, sitting judge of High Court of Jharkhand, and Honorable Mr. Justice K.T. Sankaran ji, former judge, High Court of Kerala and member Law Commission of India, and Professor Narendranath Pandey ji, former Vice Chancellor, Sampurnanand Sanskrit University, Kashi. Well-established scholars and judges who are going to share their views on different aspects of Vedic jurisprudence. Now, without because we have already spent a lot of time. Now we are already behind this schedule. I will make the introduction also short, and we will go to the session at the earliest possible. For this session, we have a distinguished professor, Sri Hridayranjan Sharma ji, as the chairperson. And he is from the Department of Veda, SVDV, BHU. We have the benefit of his scholarship also in this session. I would request Sri Hridayranjan Sharma ji to opening remarks for a few minutes, if possible 2 or 3 minutes. Then we will go to the other scholars and judges quickly. Would you like to?
श्री वेदपुरुषाय नमः। मंच पर विराजमान समस्त महनीजन, गोष्ठी में विराजमान समस्त मान्य विद्वजन, विदेशियाँ, छात्र छात्राएं एवं समस्त आगंतुकजन, संक्षेप में ये बात रखनी है। आप सब जानते हैं वेद आज पूरी दुनिया में प्रामाणिक प्राचीनतम वैज्ञानिक ग्रंथ के रूप में प्रतिष्ठित हैं। विद्या के 2 रूप बताए गए हैं। एक विद्या है पराविद्या, एक अपराविद्या। पराविद्या वो ब्रह्म तत्व जो है उसके बारे में उपनिषद आदि ग्रंथों में विवेचन की जाती है। अपरा विद्या जो है पूरी सृष्टि और जीवन के विज्ञान के स्वरूप को बतलाती है। ये क्योंकि विज्ञान का क्रम चल रहा है इसलिए, और उसमें भी वेद शास्त्र की चर्चा है। ऐसे तो बहुत से उदाहरण हैं वेदों में जो वेद की समालोचना करते हैं, समाधान करते हैं, लेकिन एक सबसे महत्वपूर्ण अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर का विषय है, वो आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूँ। कई बार मैं उसकी चर्चा कर चुका हूँ क्योंकि आप सभी लोग विज्ञ हैं और उस चीज को समझना चाहेंगे। 2007 की मैं घटना बताता हूँ। इंग्लैंड की ये चर्चा है। वहाँ एक खाई महाराज थे, वो 85 ईयर्स ओल्ड हैं और उनकी इच्छा थी कि ब्रिटेन में भारतीय संस्कृति के अनुसार अंत्येष्टि संस्कार का अधिकार मिले। इसके लिए उन्होंने वहाँ के हाई कोर्ट में अपील की। और देखिए वेद कितने प्रामाणिक हैं विश्व स्तर पर कि वहाँ के हाई कोर्ट ने ये कहा कि अगर आप ये वेद से प्रमाण दे सकें कि अंत्येष्टि संस्कार हमारे जीवन का अभिन्न अंग है तो हम अपील स्वीकार कर लेंगे। उसका विरोध भी हुआ, कई लोगों ने विरोध किया, लेकिन कोर्ट ने कहा नहीं, ये चीज हम स्वीकार करेंगे। वहाँ से बात आई, मैं उस समय था यहाँ PHU में वेद विभाग में, तो उस पर इंटरनेशनल सेल से मैंने जवाब भेजा। मैंने ये प्रमाण दिए कि अंत्येष्टि संस्कार हमारे जीवन का अभिन्न अंग है। और आप देखिए कि विदेशों में तो ये माना जाता है कि केवल ये जब तक शरीर है तभी तक हमारा अस्तित्व है, जीवन है। आफ्टर डेथ लाइफ का कोई अस्तित्व ही नहीं है। लेकिन उन्होंने ये प्रामाणिक मानते हुए वेदों को ये अपील स्वीकार की और प्रमाण मांगा। प्रमाण के रूप में मैंने दिया। ये जो केस है वहाँ 2007 में शुरू हुआ, 2010 में उसका समाधान आया और पूरा का पूरा केस गूगल में उन्हीं लोगों ने डाल रखा है, मेरे नाम से। मुझे बाद में पता लगा। मैं उसका एकदम संक्षेप में क्या प्रमाण है वो आपको बताता हूँ। वेद ये बताते हैं कि हमारा जो जीवन है उस जीवन के क्रम में हमारे 3 जन्म होते हैं। द्विजन्म का रूप तो बड़ा प्रसिद्ध है। हमारे 3 जन्म हैं। पहला जन्म जो है वह जब शिशु माता के गर्भ में आता है, द फर्स्ट मोमेंट ऑफ द कंसेप्शन। वो प्रथम जन्म माना गया। वेद में प्रमाण है पूरा। द्वितीय जन्म जो है जब 9-10 महीने के बाद गर्भ से शिशु बाहर आता है, ये दूसरा जन्म होता है। तीसरा जन्म जब शारीरिक मानसिक वृद्धि और जो कुछ भी संपत्ति आदि अर्जन करके, ज्ञान अर्जन करके वह अपने जीवन के क्रम को पूरा आगे ले जाता है, और जब उसका शरीर छूटता है, यानी जीवात्मा शरीर से जब अलग होता है, ये उसका तीसरा जन्म बतलाया। तो जीवात्मा तो अमर है, इमोर्टल है, तो नष्ट नहीं होता, शरीर केवल छूटता है। तो उस जीवात्मा के संस्कार के लिए अंत्येष्टि संस्कार होता है। आप जानते हैं कि 5 प्राण तो मुख्य हैं, प्राण अपान ज्ञान दान समान। 5 और प्राण हैं, नाग कूर्म कृकल देवदत्त धनंजय। तो ये जो धनंजय प्राण है, ये जीवात्मा शरीर से अलग होता है, लेकिन वो धनंजय प्राण शरीर में बना रहता है। उसके संस्कार के लिए अंत्येष्टि संस्कार आवश्यक बतलाया। जब अंत्येष्टि संस्कार दाह होता है तो आप ध्यान रखेंगे, और ये परंपरा में है कि जो पुत्र है या जो भी अधिकृत है, वह जो हमारा कपाल है, कपाल जो है विस्फोट, तब वो धनंजय प्राण अलग होता है, और फिर हमारी गति आगे को बढ़ती है। देव भाव में हमारी जो स्थिति है जीवात्मा की, जो हमारे हम कहते हैं तो जीवात्मा की गति, वह जीवात्मा अजर अमर है, उसकी गति निरंतर आगे बढ़ती है। कर्मों के आधार पर उसका क्रम चलता है। वेदों में पूरे प्रमाण है, क्योंकि संक्षेप में कहना है इसलिए मैं बता रहा हूँ। सारे प्रमाण वेदों में हैं कि जो हमारा कर्म है वही हमारी गति को आगे, हमारे जीवात्म भाव को ले जाता है। तो ये जो है, क्योंकि विधि का ये एक सेमिनार है, गोष्ठी का क्रम है, अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर पर वेदों को प्रमाण मानकर 2010 में इंग्लैंड में हाई कोर्ट में ये जो है डिसीजन दिया गया। हाँ, यह अंत्येष्टि संस्कार का अधिकार दिया जाए, और वहाँ तो मेरा इतनी कहना है कि ये पूरे विश्व में चाहे कोई भी विषय हो, आधुनिक विज्ञान से संबद्ध विषय या कोई भी विषय, तो पूरे प्रामाणिक हैं, और वेदों में उनका रूप है, सिद्धांत पक्ष है, जो थ्योरी है वो दी हुई है। अतः यह जो कार्यक्रम है वो पूर्ण है, नहीं कहती विराम देता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
I'll give a very brief introduction about Honorable Justice. His Lordship has graduated from National College, Bihar National College, Patna University, and completed his MA. And in the year 1985, he pursued LLB from, this was in MA he pursued in 1985, and he pursued LLB in the year 1988 in Patna Law College, and later PhD. He enrolled as an advocate in 1988. Then after that his journey as a lawyer started. He also taught in RPS Law College in Patna. After bifurcation of state of Bihar, he shifted his practice to Jharkhand High Court at Ranchi. He has dealt with several cases including service matters and constitutional matters. And he was appointed as a senior advocate in the year 2010 and elevated to the bench in September 2016. And later he took oath as a judge of High Court of Jharkhand in September 2018. We are very fortunate to have you here, Lordship. And I invite Dr. Pathak ji, Justice Dr. Pathak ji, to share his very valuable views.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Now, before I start, I just want to tell you one saying. Interview for Union Public Service Commission was going on in Delhi, one of the aspirants, the moment he entered the room, he fell down. The board asked him, "Gentlemen, you have fallen down." Immediately he said, "I am not worried now because I have fallen down in the company of intellectuals." Why I say so? मुझे संस्कृत का उतना ज्ञान नहीं है, संस्कृत कभी पढ़ा नहीं, और खुशी इस बात की है कि इस विद्वत परिषद में जहाँ सारे विद्वान लोग, संस्कृत के विद्वान लोग हैं, वेद के विद्वान लोग हैं, अगर मुझसे संबोधन में कुछ गलती हो जाए तो मैं क्षमा चाहता हूँ। A very good afternoon to you all, the dignitaries present on the dais. My namaskar to Brother Justice K.T. Sankaran, former Honorable Judge, High Court of Kerala, Professor Hridayranjan Sharma ji, Department of Veda, BHU, Professor Narendranath Pandey ji, former Vice Chancellor, Sanskrit University, Kashi, Professor Pushpa Lakshmanan, Faculty of Law, Delhi, Professor Tripathi ji, President of the Conference, and other coordinating members of the Center of Vedic Sciences, Banaras University, press and media, and other distinguished persons present here. It's my privilege to address this august gathering on the theme interface of the Vedic Nyaya Shastra with the Western concept of justice. An international conference like this offers opportunities for dialogue between the judges, professors, scholars from various jurisdictions in the world to exchange ideas and gain knowledge from each other on many different aspects or issues framed before us. I recall these ancient traditions only to emphasize that a well-structured judicial system is more than 2,000 years old in this country and has always been at the bedrock of India's legal history. Our constitution is magnificent not just for its detail but also for the international inspiration that it drew and continues to draw. The constitution makers embraced a famous saying from Veda, "Anau Bhadra Kratavo Yantu Vishwata." Let noble thoughts come to me from all directions. India, being a melting pot of myriad cultures and traditions, is well known. This is equally true of its judicial system and institutions. We have assimilated legal cultures of all the civilizations who have come to our shores: the Mughals, the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, and finally the English. Right from conventional court system to customary methods of education and rules for evidence, our system of education have been a diverse mixture of traditions of the past infused with the present, looking towards the changing times. Before these cultures reached our shores, India had a well-established system of courts. The rules were all contained in the scriptures, which prescribe a mandatory open hearing in courts in the presence of officers of the court. For instance, the Vyas Smriti provides the various stages of a valid decision. They are The plain written statement issues evidence, its analysis, argument of the lawyer, provisions of law, and that the decision should be decided by the members of the bench. The judgment should have a royal seal on it. Dharma is a unique blend of rigidity and flexibility. It protects eternal principles and accepts continued valid traditions. Shrutis stand for universal, eternal, and fundamental principles. Smritis stands for a group of values derived from these principles and finding their expression in limited, temporary, and relative field of social life. In comparison with the modern law, the Vedic law was a peculiar legal system as it followed a unique arrangement of law and polity with unique schemes of value. The main aim of the law in Vedic period was to preserve dharma, which means righteousness and duty. It consists of both legal duties and religious duties. It not only includes law and court procedures, but also a wide range of human activities like ritual purification, personal hygiene regimes, and modes of stress. Dharma provided the principles, guidance by which one endeavored to lead his life. Now in the first session, you must have heard, if you all were present here, that what is the difference between dharma and religion. This is the difference which I have highlighted. The Smritis greatly emphasize that it was the responsibility of the king. Some of the most prominent Smriti are Dharma Shastra, Yajanvalkya Smriti, Narada Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti, Katyayana Smriti. These texts were often used for legal judgments and opinion. They dealt with the subject matter of dharma and were guidebooks on dharma with rules of conducts and rights. During this period also, the legal procedures, including that of filing cases, were called as Vyavahara. The equivalent of modern plaint was called Purupaksha, and that of written statement as Uttar. The trial was called Kriya and verdict as Nirnay. The profession of lawyers or advocates were unknown during this period. So in the Vedic period, we didn't have any lawyers, professionals like we have today. Trial by jury and trial by ordeal were the two types of trials. We talked of trials, there was also trial. That existence during that period. The doctrine of king can do no wrong was not accepted, and the king was himself subjected to law. What we talked about, that whether law is above the king or the king is above the law. Let us be very clear that king was not above the law during the Vedic period also. Slide? You don't know? No. All right. The Vedic period sovereignty was based on an implied social compact, and if the king violated the traditional pact, he forfeited his kingship. In the happiness of his subjects lies the king's happiness. In their welfare, his welfare. Whatever pleases him, he shall not consider as good, but whether pleases his people, he shall consider it to be good. As much as it discussed in Western jurisprudence, the principles of interpretation has been dealt by Vedic jurisprudence. The said principles of interpretation was developed to high degree of perfection. Judges were required to decide the cases, criminal, civil, according to law. Samayak Yatha Shastran, Shastro Ditena Vidhina. This involved interpretation of the written text of the law, a task which created many problems, such as elucidation of obscure words and phrases in the text, reconciliation of conflicting provisions in the law, solutions of conflict and principles of equity, justice and good conscience, adjustment of custom and smritis, and so on. In disputes, the courts had to ascertain what is true and what is false. The procedure and atmosphere of the courts discouraged falsehood. The oath was administered by the judge himself and were required to witness extolling truthfulness as a virtue and condemning perjury as a horrible sin. What we find in the trial court today, that oath is not administered by the judge but by a third person. This was the major difference. Okay. Slide 5. Slide 5. All the smritis were unanimous that there should be no delay in examining witnesses, because delay dims the memory and stimulates imagination. We talked of delay also, that once there is a delay in deciding a case, it can be said very comfortably that justice delayed is justice denied. So this was also considered in the Vedic period also. Therefore, delay leads to great evil and results in witnesses turning away from the law. It is noteworthy that Indian judiciary today also consists of a hierarchy of courts organized on similar principles. All of us, we know that here also we have village courts, munsif, civil judge, civil courts, district courts, and their high courts, and then Supreme Court. We are following an ancient tradition without being conscious of it. It is not a new thing. In previous days, in Vedas, we also find the same hierarchy. The Srutris and Smritis are similar in character to the international conventions. Acts, orders, and judicial pronouncements, Puranas and Itihasas, are like legal cases that are complicated by real life situations. On summing up the fundamental principles on which the judicial process in ancient India was founded, that the sovereign was not to interfere with the judiciary, but on the contrary, the latter was under a duty to interfere in case of wrong decision by the king. It has been rightly highlighted by the Honorable Justice Rama Subramaniam, Judge Supreme Court of India. A significant difference between modern law and the Dharma Shastras is that if the former is concerned with only conduct of human beings, the latter dealt with both conduct and character. So in ancient days, in Vedic period, we had both conduct as well as character. Now slide 6. Nyaya philosophy of Jainism and its applicability in modern legal system. Just hurriedly, as it is generally said, the life of law has not been logic, it has experience. It reflects the story of nations' development many centuries and evolved out of the felt necessities of time, along with the prevalent moral and political theories. The historical perspective of civil and criminal justice delivery system of today's owes its origin to the authorities' source as Manu Smriti, Nyaya, Mimamsa, and Kautil's Arthashastra. One of them is Jaimini's Sutra, regarded as the foremost work written around 500 BC. The Mimamsa Sutra of Saga Gemini has summed up the general rules of Nyaya or Vedic interpretation. Mimamsa means reflection and critical investigation. Being the sixth darshans, Samakhya, Vaisheshika, Astika, Vedant, Nyaya of Indian philosophy, which is the earliest and as deeply influenced by the formulation of Hindu laws. The aim of Mimamsa is to give rules of interpretation of Vedas and provide a philosophical justification for observance of Vedic rituals. Gemini's work is written in sutra, string form, which was the classical method used in those days to present a subject systematically. It is said that sutra aimed at expressing the complete idea in the minimum number of words. And if they could omit even a single stroke in a word, they felt happy. And if a son was born to them, sometimes one sutra consists of just one word. So already we have been delayed because, and if this would have been taken into consideration, there was no question of any delay. Anyway, the main essence of Mimamsa is to enlighten on Dharma, which in this school is acknowledged as a set of ritual, obligations and prerogatives, if properly performed, maintains the harmony of the world and further the personal goal of performance. It was purely practical in origin, which contributed to the direction, method and concept of Hindu erudition. The knowledge of Mimamsa principles enables one to infuse equity and the democratic spirit into the law in a manner unknown to Western techniques of interpretation. Next. An example of this is one of the celebrated judgment in the case of Mahabir Prasad Dwivedi versus State of UP, reported in AIR 1992, Allahabad, page 351. It was observed that the Jadesti maxim, the maxim for the substitution of Putika plant for the Soma plant, lays down that where a thing is enjoyed for a certain purpose, in its absence, another thing for the same genus which serves the purpose may be substituted. Though there is no rule of substitution in Western school of interpretation, Mimamsa offers solution. So there we are, how we are guiding the Western philosophy. The Mimamsa principles can help judges in molding the law to make it more rational, equitable and democratic. After all, principles of interpretation are substantive laws, but constitute a methodology of tool for solving questions of interpretations. Indeed, we need to invoke Western rules of interpretation as usual wherever they are applicable. It should equally be possible for us to invoke Mimamsa rules of interpretation where they are found appropriate and useful. Therefore, we can use any kind of principles of interpretation which can help us resolve a legal difficulty or make the statute more equitable or rational. Now, the role of king in administration of justice. In the first session, we also talked about this topic. Now let me emphasize on that. The fountain source of justice was the sovereign. In Indian jurisprudence, dispensing justice and awarding punishment was one of the primary attributes of sovereignty and other administrative action. The concept of open and fair trial of cases existed in ancient Indian society, as king was accountable for that. Dharmastram puraskritya prad vivak mate stita samahit mati payet vyavharana nukramat.
The king should try cases with great care, according to law and due order, adhering to the opinion of the Chief Justice. The concept of judgment to be free from bias, which is ultimate concept of principle of natural justice. Today we are talking of natural justice. Even in criminal cases, civil cases, constitutional matters, we talk of natural justice. This was also prevalent in the Indian society at that point of time. Next. Now, as rightly expressed in Narada, if a king disposes of lawsuits, Vivharan, in accordance with law, and is self-restrained in court, in him the 7 virtues meet like 7 flames in the fire. This was the concept of a king. Narada enjoins, when the king occupies the judgment seat, Panch Parmeshwar, when the king occupies the judgment seat, Dharmasanam, he must be impartial to all beings, having taken the oath of the son of Vibhasa. The oath of Vibhasa is the oath of impartiality. So, it can be said that the main thing is king has to be impartial. Judge has to be impartial. Therefore, it is the expectation that when the king acts like a judge, he should be impartial. When the judge is there, he acts like a king, he should be impartial. The son of Vibhasana is Yama, the god of death, who is impartial to all living beings. In reference to Manusmriti, king was Dand Chhatradhari, holder of punishment and protector. Punishment was the essential character of law, and he justified the punishment to keep people under control and protects them. Dand Shastri Pragya, Sharva Dand Eva Veer Chati, Dand Sumateshu Jagrati, Dand Dharma Vidu Vardha. Punishment remains awake when the people are asleep. So the wise hand have recognized punishment itself as a form of dharma. Punishment protects dharma, artha and karma. Trivara Grupa, symbol of dharma, artha and karma. Sarvo dandajito loko durlabho hi suchi jana. Dandasya hi bhayat vito bhogayo pravartate. It is difficult to find a man in this world who is always pure in all respect. It is only on account of fear of punishment that an individual behaves properly and is kept within its bound. वो कहा गया ना, बिन भय हो ही न प्रीति, तो डर रहना ही चाहिए. In Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, which is discourse on Raj Dharma, duties of king, contains several verses eulogizing the punishment policy. The imposition of punishment, according to Smritis and Mahabharata, had twofold objects. Punishment of the offender, warning to intending offenders that they would also be punished if they were about to commit offense. So there is essence of dar that should be there. The necessity of the internal vigilance on the part of the king to protect his subject by inflicting appropriate punishment on wrongdoer. One of the chief duties of the king was the maintenance and protection of the Varna system through his power of dand was increasingly severe. The higher the Varna of the victim and the lower the Varna of the perpetrator. The king obeyed this concept because it is realized that Varna and the state are necessary aids to the achievement of the final goal of life. The legal distinctions of ancient India are firmly based on idea of equity and justice expressed in terms of hierarchy rather than equality. Next. Thus we can see that like contemporary jurisprudence, our very own Vedic jurisprudence, since ages, has been exceptionally rich in its composition and vastly diverse in its formation. Everything enshrined in it revolves around the principal value of dharma, that is the righteousness. It is the eventual goal, the central purpose, as well as the guiding star of a just and equal society. Moreover, even at the times, if a dharma takes birth, then Krishna has rightly remarked in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuthanam dharmasya tada atman srijami aham. Whenever there is a fading of the dharmas and the uprising of unrighteousness, then I lose myself forth into birth. Finally, before concluding off, I would like to express my gratitude to conference organizers and sponsors. Conferences such as these, in a sense, celebrate the universality and seek a better expression through the challenges that the judiciaries of the world face. Undoubtedly, the success of the rule of law in our countries depends on how the judiciaries respond to such challenges and how they emerge. I do hope that at the end of the session, all of us would be benefited by learning from each other and have a clearer definition of the roles of the judiciary in the changing world. Thank you. Jai Hind.
And what kind of challenges in the modern times we face in the judicial system. I'm really, very sincerely hoping that with the kind of a discussion that we are having today, it is going to really reflect on the present day legal system and it will benefit a lot. Thank you very much, sir. And coming to the second presentation on environment. You all know protection of environment is not new to Indians. It is an age-old practice. Thousands of years, it is, it's time immemorial, we have been protecting environment. This civilization has always respected and protected environment and also gone to the extent of worshipping environment in different forms. We have seen several other civilizations, but the extent of the protection and the reverence that this civilization has given is phenomenal. And the seeds were sown in Vedas and Puranas. And that's how it reflected in our way of life. In order to speak that aspect, we have Honorable Mr. Justice K.T. Sankaran ji here. Honorable Justice has graduated from Sri Krishna College, Guruvayur. He pursued a law degree from Saraswati Law College, Merkara, Coorg. He enrolled as an advocate in 1979 and after that a successful practice. He was invited as additional judge of Kerala High Court in 2005. Then later, in November 2006, he became the permanent judge of the Kerala High Court. And during this time, he has delivered several important judgments, and he retired from his service in December 2016. Now he is one of the very important the member of the Law Commission of India, 22nd Law Commission. We are very fortunate to have you here, sir. And our Lordship is going to speak on the perspective of Vedas and Puranas in reference to environment. Over to you.
भाई और बहनों, Sahodari Sahodaramare, Namaskaram, Vanakkam. The distinguished guests on the dais, off the dais, and dear friends. The time allotted to me is 20 minutes. I will try to finish it within that time. Sure. If it is that, I will cut it there. Can you see me? At least you will see my teeth. I am dark, my coat is dark, there is no light. What to do? See my teeth? Alright, that is enough. Now, I would like to have my speech in two parts. One is the main concept, Vedic jurisprudence impact. So what I did or what happened to me on this, I will say first. A case came before me, before us, a division bench hearing criminal appeals. That was a murder case. Murder of wife by the husband, pouring kerosene on her and igniting. She suffered of burn injuries on the next day. She made a statement, a dying declaration to the doctor and to the persons who were there. That was accepted upon, relied upon, and he was convicted by the Sessions Court. An appeal came to the High Court. One of the arguments that it is not relevant here. One of the main arguments was, what is the theory of acceptance of dying declaration? The theory, Western theory is, a person does not want to meet his maker with a lie in his mouth. There is a Latin maxim. A person does not want to see his maker with a lie in his mouth. I started at, time up to, 10. Yes, I will close it. With a lie in his mouth. So the argument of the counsel for the appellant was, that is the accused was, this is a Western theory. Parties are Hindus. Therefore, that principle is not applicable to Hindus. A person facing his imminent death may tell a lie, a Hindu. Possible. Therefore, that principle cannot be applied and the dying declaration cannot be accepted. This is the argument. How to meet that argument? I requested the public prosecutor to work on it. And I also suggested that there are books on Puranas and Vedas and all those things. You try to. He found out a book called Puranatrayam, consisting of 3 Puranas: Vishnu Purana, Garuda Purana, and another Purana. There it is clearly stated in Garuda Purana. After death, a person would meet his maker, Dharmarajan. And if you want entry towards the main gate, you should not commit any sin. The person who commits sin enters through the southern door, and after all the punishments which are to be provided to him, he will suffer that, etc. And the person, the accountant in Dharmaraja's Sabha is Chitragupta. He has correct accounts of each and every person. This is stated in Garuda Purana. Garuda Purana, it is also stated that that is why the subject environment also. If you cut a tree, this is the punishment. If you destroy a forest, this is the punishment. If you pollute a pond or a well, this is the punishment. If you pollute a river, this is the punishment, aggravated form. Various punishments have been provided in the Garuda Purana when a person meets his maker, namely the Dharmarajan, at his Sabha. On this principle, that argument was rejected. Now then, I also read Vishnu Purana out of curiosity and the other Purana in that book, which was in Malayalam. I do not know Sanskrit or Hindi. Therefore, I read the Malayalam version of it and I understood. Very interesting. In either Vishnu Purana or Garuda Purana, you can see that a man makes with a woman fertilization takes place, zygote is formed, cell division takes place. What happens in each week is there in that Purana. Can you imagine? Can we say that our Puranas and Vedas are unscientific? Scientifically stated, during this week the brain will develop, the ear will, nose will come. All those things are either in Garuda Purana or Vishnu Purana, I do not remember exactly. So we cannot say that it is unscientific. Then coming to the subject on which I am expected to speak, that is the environment. We have got umpteen laws. In the world over, the United Nations thought of making certain changes. That was only in 1972 Stockholm Conference. Before that, nothing. In India, the Environmental Protection Act is 1986. There are several other laws, Air Act, Water Act, etc. But these Vedas and Puranas, Vedas are the first book in the world, first text in the library of mankind, which Vedas. They speak of environment and the need for protection of the environment. We will go through some of the examples. And before that, I may say that our ancient literature reveals knowledge of undesirable effects of environment degradation by natural factors and human intervention. Then Hindu philosophy is environmental friendly. Mahabharata, Ramayana, Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Puranas contain messages and sanctions for preservation of environment and ecological balance. Vedas are universally accepted as precious Indian heritage. Vedic views revolves around the concept of nature and life. Vedas refers to environmental conservation, ecological balance and weather cycle. Hindu philosophy, forest, trees and wildlife protection has a special place in it. Vedas attach great importance to environmental protection and purity, afforestation, non-pollution. Man is forbidden from exploiting nature. Man is taught to live in harmony with nature. Recognizes that divinity prevails on all elements, including plants and animals. This is how it was enforced. Because God is there. Everything is in God. God is everywhere. Is worshipping fire, trees, flowers. And with what we pray to the God? With flowers, water, all living things. So it is there, it is always connected with it. The Vedas are first text in the library of mankind. Hinduism, nature and environment are not outside them. They are inseparable parts of our existence. Now, Ramayana, Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana, there is I read some texts and noted it. Ravana asks, I have not cut down any tree, any fig tree in the month of Vaishakha. Then why then the calamity should befall on me? Who asks? Ravana asks. See the importance of preservation of trees and forests. Rigveda says, thousands and hundreds of years if you want to enjoy the fruits and happiness of life, then take up systematic planting of trees. How many years ago this was said? Do not harm the environment. Do not harm the water and flora. Earth is my mother. I am her son. May the waters remain fresh. Do not harm the waters. Do not cut trees because they remove pollution. Is it not scientific? Rivers occasion widespread destruction if their coasts are damaged or destroyed, and therefore trees standing on the coast should not be cut off or uprooted. Trees on the shores of rivers should not be cut, because that will end in depletion of rivers. O air, you are our father, the protector. Air has medicinal values. Let wind blow in the form of medicine and bring me welfare and happiness. Then Yajurveda says, do not disturb the sky and do not pollute the atmosphere. No person should kill animals helpful to all. Then next is advice to the king. O king, you should never kill animals like bullocks useful in agriculture, or like cows which gives us milk, and all other helpful animals, and must punish those who kill or do harm to such animals. The oceans are the treasures of wealth, protect them. So we have seen earth, trees, forests, rivers, ocean. Do not poison water and do not harm or cut trees. Do not disturb the sky and do not poison the atmosphere. So all the Panchabhutas are covered. Now Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, the God who exists in the universe lives in air, water, in fire, and also in trees and herbs. Men should have reverence for them, because it is worship as God. The Environmental Protection Act 1986, let us see what is the definition of environment in that act. Now, what I said hitherto, and compare with the definition of environment in the Environmental Protection Act. Environment includes water, air, and the land, and the interrelationship which exists among and between water, air, and land, and human beings, other living creatures, plants, microorganisms, and property. Same thing as said in Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, and other texts. Nothing else, nothing new. Taittiriya Upanishad. One should not cause urine and stool in water. Those days, land was enough, population was less, anything could be done by anybody. At that time it is said, one should not cause urine or stool in the water, should not spit in water, and should not take the bath without clothes, because the water will be contaminated, there will be pollution. Now it is reported in various religious places, the coliform bacteria which is dangerous to human being is found in waters, rivers, and public places. It is very dangerous beyond a particular level. Coliform bacteria mainly from human waste. So this was found in Upanishad at that time. Don't urinate, don't pass other things in the water. So this was at a time when it was not thought of by anybody. Vishnu Purana says, as the wide-spreading Nargoda tree, Sanskrit for banyan tree, is compressed in a small seed, so at the time of dissolution the whole universe is comprehended in thee as its germ. And as the Nargoda germinates from the seed and becomes just a shoot and then rises into loftiness, so the created world proceeds from thee and expands into magnitude. That is. Then Narasimha Purana. O wicked man, if you kill a bird, then you are bathing. If you bathe in the river, pilgrimage, worship, and yajnas are all useless. If you kill a bird. Matsya Purana tells about the Vanamaholtsav. Agni Purana says about the plantation of trees and creation of gardens. It leads to eradication of sin, planting trees. Padma Purana says cutting of green tree is an offense punishable in hell, Naragam, cutting trees. Varaha Puranam, one who plants one people, one neem, one bar, 10 flowering plants or creepers, 2 pomegranates, 2 oranges and 5 mangoes does not go to hell. Symbolic. Don't take that number, I have done only one, I will not, no, not that. It is symbolic. Kaudilya's Artha Shastra. Kaudilya's Artha Shastra is an ancient Indian treatise on administration, economic policy, taxation, diplomacy, planning, etc. Provides knowledge about environment and its conservation, maintenance of public sanitation and preservation of environment, forest and wildlife emphasized. Kaudilya suggests that the need to develop Abhayaranya or Abhayavana, forest and animal sanctuaries, provides penalties for poaching and causing damage to forest, provides punishment for acts which adversely affect water bodies or obstructing or diverting a water course, for damaging embankments, etc. So all human activities which will have the adverse effect on environment, depletion of environment, has been dealt with in those texts. In the United Nations Conference, Stockholm Conference in 1972, then Earth Summit thereafter in 1992, World Summit thereafter in Johannesburg, in India, Water Prevention of Control Pollution Act 1976, Constitutional Amendment. Article 51A was introduced, Fundamental Duties, which clause G says to protect and improve natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and have compassion for living creatures. That was only in 1976 a constitutional provision was introduced for the first time in our constitution. Various laws came thereafter. Air Prevention and Control Act 1981, Environmental Protection Act 1886, Biological Diversity Act, then Article 48A of the Constitution, which provides 1976 inserted protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding the forest and wildlife. Then Wildlife Protection Act. All these things are taken later. So I am within my time. Emphasis is on environment. These are our Vedas, Puranas. People will laugh at you. All the texts will. See, you must say scientific. Show it scientific. But at the same time, later entries therein by interested versions are interpolated too. For example, if a non-Brahmin hears Vedas, you see, something should be done, he should not take milk. These are all introduced, inserted by, in Wikipedia we can change. Likewise, it was changed by later comers and something was added. That does not take the purity of Vedas or Puranas or Upanishads. So take in that perspective. Is this scientific? Astronomy, Ayurveda, astrology, everything, what is not there in the Vedas and Puranas, Upanishads. So dear friends, with these words I close. Thank you very much. Thank you to organizers for giving me an opportunity to address you and all the distinguished guests here. Thank you. Namaskar.
My opening talk. What is not there in this country? Why should we look at elsewhere? Is the message. I teach environmental law. Whenever I teach, at the end of the semester, students ask me, we have all these traditions, all these laws. Why still our environment is like this? What do we do? Wonderful judgments we have, wonderful laws we have, and such a kind of a tradition we have in our Puranas, Shastras, Vedas. Still, why we are like this? The hard truth is we don't know this. All that Honorable Justice has stated here, even the teachers, we don't read. And it is our failure that we have not passed on this treasure to our students and the youngsters. And I think it is our duty now that we have to pass on this message. We have to dwell into this, dwell deep into this and understand it fully. And we have to, I think, anyway, give it to our next generation. Then this country will be really, what I can say, the Vishwa Guru. Thank you very much once again. The next discussion that we are going to have is by Professor Narendranath Pandeyji. He is a former Vice Chancellor of Sampurnanand Sanskrit University, Kashi, a very prominent scholar of Raj Shastra, and he is going to speak on Raj Dharmaki Samayaka Prasankigata. Raj Dharma, you all know. It's a very prominent, in all our lectures it is coming up. Dharma is the base of our civilization, and Raj Dharma is on the top of it. In Tamil, since morning, Madam also, Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, also she has stated that we call it Aram, Aram. There is no compromise on that, and this was our culture. This was our history, and now we have to. It is our duty that we have to uphold this. So, in order to expound this, we invite Professor Narendranath Pandeyji. Over to you, Ji.
Ahi Mahayogin. Vahi Mahayogin Sarvato Mam Abhiraksha Nanyatvam Abhayam Pasya Jatra Mrityu Parasparam. देखिए, हम अभय की ओर चलना चाहते हैं और शासन से और व्यवस्था से भी अभय चाहते हैं, और यही सभी लोग चाहते हैं। अभय का मतलब क्या है, उसके लिए जब आप प्रयास करेंगे कि अभय हो, तो भय कहाँ से आ रहा है इसको तो सोचना पड़ेगा। तो इसलिए भय जहाँ से भी आ रहा हो उसको जानना और उसको दूर करने का उपाय करना, ये राजा करता था। क्योंकि लिखा है कौटिल्य ने, चतुर्वर्णाश्रमस्यायं लोकस्याचार रक्षणा नश्यतां सर्वधर्माणां राजधर्म प्रवर्तक। राजधर्म क्या करता है, इसको बताने से पहले हम आपको राज शब्द और धर्म शब्द का अर्थ बताना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे मन में वो घूमता रहता है और जिस तरह की व्याख्याएं सुनते हैं उनसे थोड़ा कभी कभी क्लेश भी होता है। तो राज शब्द क्या है, आप सब जानते हैं जो संस्कृत पढ़े हुए हैं। राजरी दीप्तो धातु से राज शब्द बनता है। तो राज का अर्थ है दीप्तिमान। दीप्तिमान कौन होता है, जो किसी भी प्रकार से अपने कर्तव्य आदि से च्युत न हो, वो ही दीप्तिमान कहलाता है। और धर्म क्या है तो आप सब लोग जानते हैं, धारणा धर्म इत्याहो धर्मो धारयति प्रजा। तो धारण क्या है इसको भी जानना चाहिए। धर्म से धारण होता है, धर्म है क्या, धृंग अवस्थाने धातु से धर्म बनता है। तो धर्म जो है वो अवस्थिति का कारण है। अवस्थिति माने हम अपने स्वरूप में, अपनी स्थिति में, अपने समाज में बिना किसी भय के बने रहें, यह कार्य जिस कारण से हो सकता है वो धर्म कहलाता है। तो सबके धर्म, उसमें सभी लोग सहभागी हैं, जितने लोग राज्य में हैं, कार्य कर रहे हैं, कोई पढ़ा रहा है, कोई सैनिक है, कुछ भी है, वो सब के सब, इसीलिए वो सब के सब जो हैं वो सहायक हैं उसमें। तो सबका अपना इसी उनका धर्म है। तो राजा का धर्म क्या है, तो वो कहते हैं राजा पहले तो देखिए, जब स्वयं राजा होगा माने दीप्तिमान होगा, दोषों से शून्य होगा, दोनों तरह की स्थितियां उसकी होंगी, वो विचार से कभी भी अतिक्रांत नहीं होगा, कभी भी किसी भी व्यवस्था के ऊपर वो अन्याय से नहीं देखेगा, तभी तो अपने स्वरूप में रहेगा। नहीं तो जैसे अब युधिष्ठिर पर जब हम आक्षेप कर सकते हैं कि अंततः वो भी जब झूठ बोल गए तो सत्य कौन बोलेगा। तो मतलब क्या है कि राजा को कुछ भी करने से पहले अपने को व्यवस्थित करना हो, वो किसी भी तरह से मर्यादा का उल्लंघन न करे। कौटिल्य ने लिखा है मर्यादाम स्थापये। राजा जो है निरंकुश नहीं होता, ठीक है वो सबके ऊपर है, लेकिन निरंकुश नहीं होता, वो मर्यादा करता है। तो मर्यादा माने अपने से ही नियम बना लेता है, और उसके नियंत्रण के लिए तो स्मृतियाँ और ये सब कुछ बताते हैं कि कहाँ उसको झुकना होगा। तो वो आचार्य को, महामात्र को, किसी को अपना आदर्श बना के और उनके आगे कुछ नहीं तो मौन रहता था। ये हम कौटिल्य के उसमें माने चंद्रगुप्त के कौमुदी महोत्सव को जो चाणक्य ने रोका था, तो उसमें हम देख सकते हैं, बताया नहीं था, लेकिन कौमुदी महोत्सव की तैयारी राज परिवार भी चाहता है, चंद्रगुप्त के माता पिता भी चाहते हैं, चंद्रगुप्त भी चाहते हैं, लेकिन उसका अकेले निरोध कर दिया, रोक दिया कौटिल्य ने। तो उसमें उनको खतरा लगा, तो वो देखे तो उन्होंने उसको रोका। तो मतलब क्या है, चंद्रगुप्त तो उसको कर सकते थे, लेकिन वो मर्यादा थी कि हम आचार्य का विरोध नहीं करेंगे। तो वो समझना तो चाहते थे कारण, लेकिन उन्होंने उसमें अपनी प्रतिक्रिया नहीं दिया, उसको तोड़ा नहीं तत्काल। तो वैसे उसमें आता है ना, कहते हैं कौटिल्य एक जगह, वृषल त्वया न प्रथमम प्रवेष्टव्यम, उनके उसके लिए बनाया गया था, एक जीते थे जब, तो सत्कार के लिए, स्वागत के लिए एक घर बनाया गया था, तो उसमें उनको जाना था सोने। तो कौटिल्य चाणक्य कहते हैं कि त्वया प्रथमम न प्रवेष्टव्यम, तुम पहले इसमें प्रवेश मत करो। और अपने जाते हैं और भीतर देखते हैं कि चींटियाँ जो हैं वो चावल का कण लेके आ रहे हैं। तो वो समझ गए कि इसका मतलब कि इसके नीचे जो है आदमी हैं। तो वो सब समझ के उसमें उन्होंने उनको सोने से मना कर दिया और अलग रहने। तो ये निष्ठा है, लेकिन सर्वसमर्थ होते हुए भी कौटिल्य ने उसका विरोध नहीं किया। कारण तो जानना चाहा, लेकिन विरोध नहीं। तो इस तरह से ये है कि राजा के लिए ये तो बहुत आवश्यक है कि वो मर्यादा को स्थापित करे, जहाँ भी वो समझ सकता है वहाँ मर्यादा को स्थापित करे, क्योंकि उसकी राय से वो चलेगा तो ज़्यादा उसके निर्णय जो हैं वो सम्मत होंगे। तो राज शब्द ये बताता है कि वो दीप्तिमान होना चाहिए। हमारा जो भी निर्णय है, जो भी कर्म है, हमारी जो भी वेशभूषा है, हमारा जो भी व्यवहार है, उसको वो उस पर किसी को शक नहीं होना चाहिए। और धर्म माने हमारा कर्म, हमारी व्यवस्था ऐसी हो जिससे कि वो हमारा रक्षण कर सके। हाँ, ये जरूर है, जैसा कि अभी माननीय न्यायाधीश साहब ने कहा कि वो धर्म का संबंध केवल यहीं से नहीं है, यहीं इतना अंतर आता है। धर्म का संबंध केवल यहाँ से नहीं है, ऊपर तक है। और आप स्मृतियों में जो दंड की व्यवस्था या कर्म के फल की व्यवस्था देखते हैं, जैसे लिखा है ना कि वो स्वर्ण को जो चुराने वाला है वो अंततः आके कुष्ठी बनता है नरक आदि के भोग के बाद। तो ये व्यवस्था मतलब केवल एक जन्म के लिए, एक स्थान के लिए नहीं। हाँ, ये जरूर है कि अब आज लोग प्रश्न कर सकते हैं कि इसको हम क्यों मान लें, किसी ने लिख दिया तो हम मान क्यों लें। तो मानना इसलिए चाहिए कि जिन्होंने तप करते हुए मान लीजिए राजाश्रय छोड़ा, भोग छोड़ा, सब कुछ छोड़ दिया और वन में जाके पत्ते चबा के रह रहे हैं, तो उनको ये कहा जाए कि वो केवल झूठ बोलने के लिए बैठे थे, तो ये तो मानने लायक बात नहीं। आज भी लोग जो हैं बिना किसी स्वार्थ के झूठ नहीं बोलते। तो वो लोग झूठ नहीं बोलते, उन्होंने जो कुछ देखा वो उसको उन्होंने लिखा और उसी के आधार पर वो व्यवस्था दी और वो देखते थे कि इसका प्रभाव ये होगा। अब ये कह देना कि हमारी बुद्धि में ये नहीं है तो इसलिए ये संभव नहीं है, तो ये तो उचित नहीं है। एक घटना आपको हम सुना के और समय के अनुसार उसमें बंद करेंगे। घटना ये है कि युधिष्ठिर के यहाँ लोग पहुँचे हुए थे, दान दे रहे थे, वो रात हो गई तो उन्होंने बंद कर दिया और ये कहा कि ठीक है सबको सम्मान पूर्वक रोको, हम फिर सुबह इसको करेंगे। तो भीम सुने तो भीम जाके खूब बड़ा नगाड़ा बजाने लगे। तो बजाने लगे तो सबकी नींद बाधित हो रही थी। युधिष्ठिर ने भी कहा कि जाके पूछो क्या कर रहे हैं भीम, उनका मस्तिष्क ठीक तो है। तो जा कहे लोग तो कहे कि नहीं, हमको ये हुआ कि धर्मराज को विश्वास है कि सवेरा होगा, इसीलिए हम ये बता रहे हैं कि सब लोग सुन लें कि ऐसे व्यक्ति को भी सवेरा होने का विश्वास है। अरे इतना कह के मान लीजिए लोग आए हुए हैं तो कह के बंद तो रहे हैं, और कह के मान लीजिए सवेरा नहीं हुआ, नहीं दे सके तब तो कहे तो आए देने को, तो उसमें तो वो बचेंगे। तो इसलिए वो कहे कि हमको यही है कि इतना धर्मराज को भी भरोसा है कि उनका सवेरा होगा, इसीलिए बता रहे हैं ढोल बजा के कि सब लोग सुन लें। तो मतलब ये है कि भविष्य पर जो है, इसीलिए ध्यान है कि वर्तमान काल के अनुसार वर्तमान में जितना है चिंतन तो भविष्य का होगा, लेकिन और उसके अनुसार हम क्रिया भी करेंगे, लेकिन वर्तमान को वर्तमान काले न वर्तन्ते विचक्षणा। विचक्षण लोग जो हैं वो वर्तमान काल के अनुसार चलते हैं, उसको देखते हैं उसमें क्या करना है और भविष्य की योजना बनाते हैं। उस तरह से आप चलिए। एक आदमी तो हमेशा नहीं रहेगा, लेकिन वो अपनी नीतियों को उनको देगा, उसके अनुसार लोग चलेंगे। तो देखिए असली चीज़ यही है कि वो दिया है ना कि चतुर्वर्णाश्रमस्यायं लोकस्याचार रक्षणात् नश्यतां सर्वधर्माणाम राजा धर्म प्रवर्तक। तो राजा जो है वो धर्म का प्रवर्तक होता है। धर्म का मतलब क्या है? जो धारण करे। तो जो धारण करे माने सुखी होकर के प्रजा जिसके आचरण से रह सके, उसी का नाम धर्म है। और हर जगह भीम ने यही तो कहा था कि हम तो यही सुना रहे हैं कि धर्मराज को ये विश्वास है कि सवेरा होगा, इसीलिए सबको रोक रहे हैं। अरे इनको जो देना है वो दे होके ख़त्म करें, भविष्य पर विश्वास करके और अपने को खतरे में न डालें। तो ठीक है, हम तो समझ रहे हैं कि बहुत समय लिए, लेकिन हमारा केवल कथन इतना ही है कि दो दृष्टि है। एक तो आपकी दृष्टि है इस लोक की, उसमें यहाँ व्यवस्था ठीक है, लेकिन हम लोगों के यहाँ जो व्यवस्था है राजधर्म की या किसी भी धर्म की, तो धर्मो धारयति प्रजा, ये आप वाक्य जानते हैं। तो धर्म जो है प्रजा का धारण करता है। धारण का मतलब क्या है? अवस्थिति विशेष में रखना। तो हम जहाँ हैं ऐसा कर्तव्य हमारा हो कि हम जहाँ हैं वहाँ से नीचे न जाएं, और भरसक ये हो कि उस आचरण से हमको माने हम ऊर्ध्व स्थिति हमारी हो। अब ये कहें कि ऊर्ध्व और अधोगति जो है ये कैसे वो होगा, तो उसके लिए तो धर्माचरण से उसके लिए लोग हैं जो उसकी व्यवस्था करते हैं। तो हम न भी विश्वास करें तो कम से कम इतना तो करें कि हमारा पतन का रास्ता रुके। तो उसको तो धर्म ही बताता है ना कि ये काम करिए, ये मत करिए। तो वो जैसे दिया ना कि धर्मम चर, धर्म का आचरण करो। तो धर्म जो है वो एक जगह हर परिस्थिति में व्यवस्थित नहीं है। जैसे सत्य बोलना धर्म है, लेकिन परिस्थिति विशेष में वहाँ असत्य बोलना या मौन रह जाना वो ज़्यादा लाभकर बताया उसके लिए। लेकिन ये जरूर है कि वो असत्य हम बोलेंगे तो उसके लिए दंड तो हमको मिलेगा, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं मिलेगा। तो ये समझना, ये दृष्टि करना कि हम जो कुछ कर रहे हैं उसका प्रभाव यही होगा, ऐसा नहीं है। एक सत्ता है, एक नियंता है। हम कह रहे हैं कि जब हम आप अपने यहाँ जन्म में ही वो नहीं है, मृत्यु के बाद कहाँ जाएंगे इसका भी वो नहीं है। अब ये कह देना कि दोनों नहीं है, मृत्यु के बाद कुछ नहीं है, और तो ये तो अलग विषय होगा। ऐसा तो है नहीं, बिना कारण में भेद हुए कार्य में भेद नहीं होता। तो जन्म के पहले कुछ है, इसीलिए कुछ लोग जो हैं कर्मों के अनुसार सर्वांग उत्पन्न होते हैं, कुछ विकलांग जन्म से ही होते हैं, कुछ विभिन्न परिस्थितियों में जन्म होते हैं। तो ये सब कुछ जो है आकस्मिक है, ये नहीं कहा जा सकता। ये तो नियंत्रित है, और वो जहाँ से भी नियंत्रित है उसको मानना होगा, क्योंकि नहीं तो इस नियम को हम बता नहीं पाएंगे कि ये नियम कैसे चल रहा है। तो बस हम अब यहीं विराम लेंगे।
पहला है भय, दूसरा है राज्य भाव, दीप्ति भाव, और तीसरा है धर्म। देखिए, भय कब होता है? भय तब होता है जब हम जो हमारा कर्तव्य रूप कर्म है उससे हट के कुछ करते हैं। ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट जो है, जिसका जो ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट है वो करने से सबसे बड़ा अनुभव जो है हमें सेटिस्फेक्शन होता है, संतोष। छात्र अगर मन वाणी कर्म से जो उनका कर्म है, अध्ययन है, कर रहे हैं, एक संतोष आता है। संतोष आने से एक दीप्ति आती है, एनलाइटनमेंट जो है स्वयं में वो चेहरा दिखता है, क्या बात है, बहुत चेहरा खिला हुआ दिख रहा है। तो वो जो संतोष है वह राजभाव है। और भय हमारा, अगर हम जो है अपना कर्तव्य रूप कर्म कर रहे हैं तो भय मुक्त रहेंगे। अभय, गीता में भी कहा है, हमारा दैवी गुण क्या है? अभयम सत्व संशुद्धि। सबसे पहला अभय शब्द दिया, भय रहित भाव। तो वो कब होगा? जब हम अपना ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट करेंगे। अर्जुन को भी तो मोह यही हो गया था कि हम ये अपने भाइयों को पितामह हैं, मारेंगे, पाप लगेगा, ये हो वो है। भगवान श्री कृष्ण ने कहा अपना ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट करो, ये तुम्हारा ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट है, इसलिए भय छोड़ो। चाहे भौतिक फिजिकल एस्पेक्ट हो, चाहे डिवाइन एस्पेक्ट, कोई भी भय नहीं है, अपना जीवन अमृतमय है, इसका उपदेश किया। तो राज्य भाव तेजो भाव है ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट करने से, उससे भय भी नहीं होता है, तेजो भाव आता है। और धर्म, आपने जैसा कहा धारणा धर्म, हम धारण करते हैं, हमारी जीवनी शक्ति जो है, जब हम कर्तव्य रूप कर्म करते हैं तो वो एनरिच होती है, और वो एनरिच होके हमें दृढ़ता प्रदान करती है। तो यही धर्म है। धर्म का मतलब ये सब बाह्य उपाय हैं जो भी हमारे हैं, पूजा पाठ जप तप इत्यादि, ये सब बाह्य हैं, उनसे हम अपनी लाइफ एनर्जी को एनरिच करते हैं। तो इससे हम अपने को देव भाव में स्थापित करते हैं। मैंने कहा अमृत भाव ही हमारा स्वभाव है, हमारा नेचर है इमोर्टलिटी। तो हम उसमें फिजिकल एस्पेक्ट में, डिवाइन एस्पेक्ट में, स्पिरिचुअल एस्पेक्ट में, तीनों में जब हम उसके साथ रहते हैं तो भयमुक्त हमारा पूर्णता भाव हमें जोड़ता है। और यही वेदों का उपदेश है, पुराणों का उपदेश है। उसमें अनेक पक्ष हैं, उसमें हम अच्छी प्रकार से गंभीरता से अध्ययन करेंगे तो हमें यही मिलेगा। कुछ लोग इस पर आक्षेप करते रहते हैं, वो किसी एक शब्द को लेके उस पर आक्षेप करते हैं, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं होता। उसका समाधान हमें अगर देखना है तो उसको अच्छी तरह से हम इस तरह से गोष्ठियों में विद्वानों से विचार विमर्श करके करें। पूर्णता हमारा धर्म है, फिजिकल, डिवाइन और स्पिरिचुअल एस्पेक्ट में हम पूर्ण बने। कैसे पूर्ण बनेंगे? अपना जो हमारा ड्यूटीफुल एक्ट है उसके साथ हम जुड़ के चलें, चाहे वह राजा हो या एक व्यक्ति हो, वह सबके लिए वह धर्म, वह पाथ एक सा है। पॉजिटिव वे ऑफ लाइफ हमारा ही सबसे बड़ा धर्म है, और इसके साथ हम पूर्णता को जोड़ते हैं। वेद में भी पूर्णता मंत्र है, मैं उसी को कहते विराम लेना चाहूँगा। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। धन्यवाद।